My name is Noel Marshall. Welcome to my home where I am going to show you how to build your very own beautiful brick home office. Now I don't care if you've never laid a brick or block in your life, with the aid of my simple inventions you can now do it. In this production I'm going to take you from A to Z, that's putting in the foundation, to slating the roof and the fixings in between doors and windows. The building I want measures 3.815 metres by 3.15, which is 12 square metres. The planning regulations here in Ireland allow us to build up to 25 square metres without requiring planning, so thankfully I don't need to apply. The foundation I'll require here is 800 millimetres wide. As the walls are 300 millimetres, the foundation will extend 250 millimetres both outside and inside the walls. Okay, for the first point of our foundation, I want to keep the building 600 millimetres away from this wall. So if the foundation is 250 mil, I need to measure out 350 millimetres from this wall, which is right here. Okay. And this obviously goes down next to my front line, the front line being the line that establishes the starting point to our building. So this is the first corner of my foundation. So let's pull our tape and put down our second external point to this foundation. The next point is 4.325 metres. So now I have 2 points to my external foundation. To get the third one, I'm going to use my square. Okay, so now our square is in place, we can establish a right angle from this point. This should be close. That is damn close enough. Okay. We've now established our right angle, so to get the third external point of our foundation, we need to measure up 3.65 metres. We're nearly here, 3.65, which is right here. So again, I'll measure 3.65 metres up from this point, and I'll come across the 4.325 metres. And where them points intersect will give us our 4 point. Check here, and that's exactly it. Okay, so we'll just knock him in. Okay, so to get our 4 internal points of the foundation, remember it's 800 millimetres wide, or 0.8 of a metre. So let's pick this up on the tape. Here we have it, 800 millimetres. Right, so now we have our 4 internal points. We can also pull that string line and mark out our foundation. To mark out our foundation, we'll use some marking spray. Okay, we're ready to dig. So we have a good square foundation dug out. Now luckily on this site the subsoil is just about 300 millimetres under the ground level. This is exactly what we want for a solid foundation. The foundation is the most important structural element to any building, and if you're in any doubt about its requirements or the structure of the ground you intend to build upon, then you'll need to consult an engineer. Now to check that it's reasonably level all round, I need to set up our laser level. Okay, so that's me level here now with the legs well dug into the ground, so it's held in place good and solid. I'll just screw on the top now. So now we'll put our level in here, lock it in place. I'll just switch this on. There's my level. And what I'll do with our stick is pick up where the laser intersects the timber at a couple points in this foundation. I'll just put our stick here and pick up the point of intersection with the laser on the stick, and I'll transfer this point around and see how we're doing level wise. Okay. Okay. So straight away here now we can see there's quite a difference in the level of our foundations from this end to that end. So because it's quite an amount, it's probably about 140-50 millimeters. I think my best bet would be to put a step in this foundation, which is easily done. It saves a lot of digging. You'll often find this when you're sloping sites like this, that it does make more sense to put in a step in the foundation, but I'll show you how to do that now. The lowest point of my foundation is here, and it's beginning to rise up from about this point. Therefore, I'll put our first step in here. It simply means the height difference is 150 millimeters. So I've taken a 150 millimeter wide piece of timber. I'll step this in here, and what I'll be doing here then after is putting in a 150 millimeter block to bring it back up to the same level all around. So we'll knock this in here. I just want to get my level to ensure that's level. And also, it's very important to make sure that there's a lot of gap here underneath so that the concrete is going to tie in securely. That'll also be tied with bars after. I've put these two bars behind the board to help support it, as there'll be a lot of pressure coming on that when the concrete will come in against it. And from this end, I think we're starting to rise up a little bit from about here. So I'll bang this in here, just get the height of this level with the height of the first one we put in, and we'll be ready to pour our concrete. So let's check that for level. That's perfect. I'll be pouring our concrete to this level, therefore I want to transfer that level all around our foundation. So I'll knock one of these bars in at each corner and transfer the level using the laser and the stick. We'll get it to intersect again at the very same point. That might be there. About another 10 millimeters, and we've our level transferred to this corner. Perfect. So now to the next corner. Okay, perfect. To transfer the level to the fourth corner of our foundation, remember this is the low point. So I'll be taking the level from the bottom of our stick, which is right here. Okay. Therefore, we need to put a bar in here to get the level to intersect at this point. See how that is. That's it. Perfect. Now, I just want to transfer this height about every meter apart throughout the foundation. So I'll pull a string line between the corners and knock in a bar about every meter apart to that height. So we've our level transferred all around Now we can pour the concrete. This here is about the correct consistency for concrete suitable to a foundation. Forced, aggregate or gravel to 1 part cement, and add your water then till you get it looking something like that. Okay, so I've now filled the foundation to the top of the height bars with concrete. I'll just use a stick like this to compact it down and make sure I'm pretty level all round. And just pick up my height bar there. I'm right on it. My other one is there. Therefore that's pretty perfect. It's important to ensure that the concrete's good and compact, get any air out of it, so you have a nice strong foundation then. You'll notice here I've inserted 3 reinforcing bars into the foundation. So that's our foundation finished after a nice day's exercise. And 20 bags of cement have gone into that. But here you can clearly see the effect the step has on this sloping site. Good morning, our foundation is set, and as you see here on my right, I've built up the area where we'd stepped. Now today we're going to lay out the walls and put in the floor. There are 2 distinct advantages to putting in the floor at this stage. One, it's very easy to put in the floor prior to building up the walls, as you'll see. And 2, it then gives us a solid platform to work from for building the walls. So I've got a ton of hardcore here, which I will spread into the floor area. Now I've taken out the topsoil. The first layer to a floor is 150 millimeters of compacted hardcore. So let's go and do that. Okay, so that seems reasonably level. We'll now compact it. I've got this packer from the local hire shop, €10 for the day. I need to spend about an hour packing this. Right, so that's well compacted. My finished floor level is going to be 150 millimeters up off the foundation. Therefore, I've got 150 millimeter blocks. Now these are going to be the first course of our building, and they are critical. There is 3 things we need to consider here. That the dimensions will be correct, that the 4 corners will be level, so we'll have a level building, and that they are square, so we'll have a square building obviously. The first thing we'll do is roughly place these into the corners where they'll go. So let's get a good thick bed of mortar in here. The first bed of mortar of course goes on freehand. Here. Right, that's our second corner set in place. Now 2 things we need to check. We need to double check our dimension, and we also need to check our level. So let's check the dimension again. Remember, we're looking for 3.825 meters here. It should be close. 3.825, absolutely perfect. Okay, we now just need to check it for level. Mark where that strikes, which is here. Let's see if this point corresponds to this corner. That should be roughly at the corner. And that's pretty perfect. Okay. So the next thing I'll do now is pull my string line between these 2 corners and get these squared up. So with my invention, which I've christened Mason's Mate, we'll set this on here. Always put good strain in your string line. And you see the purpose of it here. This block obviously a little bit out of line. Just simply tap them into place. Okay. That's it. And this one needs to come the other way. Bring him into line. Okay, so we now have our string line stretched here and here, so we can get our square and check to see if they are square. Okay, let's check if this building is square. I just need something to prop up each corner of it. Just grab a block. Let's get it right in here at the corner. Right, that's right in line with our string lines. So we now know our building is square. So right, for our fourth corner, all we need to do is transfer the measurement here, 3.15 meters up and 3.825 meters here across. And to double check that we have a square building, what we need to do is measure diagonally here, and they both should read the very same measurement. So let's do this. 4.935 I've got here. Okay. Would you look at that? 4.935. Absolutely perfect. Okay, we have a square building. We can now lay on the walls. Right, our corners are in place. All we need to do now is pull our string line between each and lay on our course of blocks, okay? So let's do it. Right, so I've now just completed the external course. Now we got to put in the internal course, which is quite easy because we can take our level off the external and we just need to measure in 100 millimeters. So this is our first corner. Let's just check our dimension here first. It's a bit too wide. 100 millimeters, that's exactly it. Okay, we got it there. And we need to move it back to about there, I think. Okay, so that's perfect. 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 Right. Are we level? Okay, it's a tiny bit low. We just need to lift it up another wee bit. Go to the opposite corner. 100 mil, beautiful. Okay, let's level them up. And as you can see, that's perfectly level. Okay, that's our first corner laid. Let's lay out our four corners. So our four internal corners are laid. We now just need to lay out our internal wall and we can proceed then to putting in our floor. Okay. So there are our walls mapped out and this will be the height of our floor. Now the next stage of our floor is to put in the DPM. But first, before I put it in, I want to layer the hardcore with sand, as hardcore like this may pierce the DPM. So we've now layered our hardcore with sand. Now the next stage to the floor is to put on the DPM. The DPM is a layer of plastic which will prevent any dampness from entering the building through the floor. got to leave enough so that it comes up the face of the inside of the wall and out over this course of blocks here. So this is our floor insulation. Now the first thing we need to do is cut strips 150 millimeters to layer our blockwork all around. Now the way to do that is just put your thumb on 150 millimeters, get your Stanley knife, run your finger along the side of the insulation like this and hold your blade against the end of the tape and just run it out along. Simple as that. It should snap. Okay. We'll now just flick the sheet over. As you can see, I'm using extra therm insulation here, which is the industry standard. This is what's commonly used in building sites. It meets all the current building regulations in terms of insulation, and they're pretty strict about it. So just run your knife down, just hold that up at about a 90-degree angle, run your knife down along it. We want to put a strip of this all around against the wall. This prevents what they call bridging. Just the final piece. That should do it. Nice and tight, that's the job. Okay, so now we'll just layer our floor with the insulation and pour our concrete, and that'll be our floor. So the next stage to our floor is to put in our concrete. I'll be putting in a 100 millimeter layer that'll bring us up to the top of the walls here. So what I'll do is divide the floor into 3 sections. That'll make it very easy to level and float the concrete. Now if our stick is too low, we just need to pack a bit of concrete in under it to get it up level. But here, fortunately, that's A1. Okay, so we can begin to level out our concrete. The perfect tool for this is, again, would you believe, is a rake. We just push it out into place. Push that back here a wee bit. And again, modern technology here. The tool we use to level it off, a piece of stick. Okay. So just give it a good pack down. And screed it off just like so. So all we've left to do here is to take out our sticks and fill up the gaps. And to finish it off, we'll just float it. Okay. After, we'll pour a bucket of self-leveling compound over this to get a perfect smooth finish. Good morning. So our floor is set. We've had our blocks and bricks delivered. So we're ready now to build up our walls. So to commence building above floor level, I'm going to start at this wall where the external leaf will be built with brick, and of course the internal leaf all round is going to be built with block. Now, it's at this stage we need to put in our DPC, damp-proof course. This, of course, prevents any dampness from rising through the walls of our building. So to place this on, I'll just show you a trick of the trade here. To help this to stick, we get our trowel and we lay on a very skim bit of mortar along the course, just like so. Run it along it just like this. This helps the damp-proof course to stick. Now to put on our DPC, I'll just take my knife. I'll need that to cut it at the other end. Quite simply, just place him on here at the corner. We'll roll this out and I'll cut it off here at the end. Our DPM, we've left it extend here out from the floor, as you'll remember. Now we'll be still putting our DPC on top of that. So when these interlink, we have a complete shield of dampness entering through the floor of our building. Brick to keep them in place, and I'll run this out. That's our DPC in place. Now to lay on our mortar. Of course, we can now use our Bricky to give us a perfect uniform bed of mortar. But just note here, I've just placed the lugs on one side of the tool at this stage, as the floor here would prevent the Bricky from setting down if the lugs were on at this side. I think that's pretty obvious. But once we've the first course on here, we can then put on the lugs at both sides, and you'll see what a fantastic tool this is. Okay, so I'll start here. Let's get him out of the way. Set him up, that's it. Get our trowel and fill it up with mortar. Now note here as well, I have a spot board set up with my mortar at hand. Now as we're insulating this building, we need to put in some tie bars at this stage to catch our insulation. So what I'll do here, get out our measuring tape. We want these every 400 millimeters apart. So I'll just run this down the length of my building. Just place this on top with the hole in place. Lock it off here. So 200 millimeters from here, roughly place this in. Sorry, one more point. You'll see a little drip here. This is the idea is here, if any dampness is traveling along the tie bar from the external leaf, it'll drip off at this point into the cavity and can't come through to our building. So at 200 millimeters, this 60 mil roughly from our internal leaf, we place that in. And every 400 millimeters along our building. So 2, we want to come to 600 with my drip dome again. Here we are. That's roughly it. Yeah, that's about 60 mil. What do we want to do now? We can lay on our course of bricks or blocks. I'll start with the bricks. Okay, that's our 2 corners leveled. Now, when you're building a line of bricks, the only time you use a level is at the corners. Level your 2 corners and pull your string line from that, and you're just checking then that every corner of your brick is just hugging the string line, okay? So, to my other invention, my mason's mate, now there is line pins and line blocks that have traditionally been used to hold the line in place, but these are superior, okay? If you have a Bricky, I'm sure you have these anyway. Right, so get our string line, just lock it in here to the lugs, run it through here, set him at the corner of our level brick. Right, that should stay in place there. Just run this guy to the other end. Do the same thing, get a good strain on our line, and I lock this in place, just like so. Okay, that should do that. I'll just check that everything is reasonably in line. I'll get my hammer for this. And that's all pretty good. Perfect, first line of bricks in place. We'll now lay on our blocks. So I've come around to mark out the front of the building. Now the only difference here is we got to allow for our door. So to mark out the opening for the door, the first thing I'll do is mark where it should be on our mortar bed. So I'm coming in the length of 5 bricks at each side, which is 1125 millimeters, which is just here, okay? So my 5th brick should finish here. And on this side, should have the same 1125, which is here. I'll just check that that's giving me our 900 millimeter opening. 910 millimeters, which actually allows for a joint as well in the brick, which is exactly what we need. And to finish up here, I'll be looking for half a brick. As I said, 5 full bricks, and I'm starting with a half here. So a half brick should get me right to my line, if everything is correct. Look at that, absolutely perfect. To start us here again at this corner with a half brick, I'll just leave this front full brick run around the corner. Line them up again. And that's him. Okay. Pop him in, and there we are, exactly to our line. And now to lay on our blocks. Note here, I've got an L-shaped blocks, which are used at door and window openings. I'll just line the front of this block up 10 millimeters back from the front of the brick. When laying bricks, it's very important to wet them, as otherwise they tend to suck the moisture straight out of the mortar, and this prevents it from setting properly. Come around the corner, we just need to put a wee bit on freehand. That'll take a half brick. We got one here. Now when we're pointing up this side, it's a bit awkward to put him on there. So you just set your bricky on the end like so. And just press it into it and take it off. Simple as that. And there you have what you need. Just put them on that way then. Okay. So we've got the 2 brick walls laid out. Now to lay out the 2 back walls. Remember, both of these leaves will be built with blocks. So very simply, the same process. Lay out our DPC, put on our mortar, and put on our 2 leaves of blocks. Now at the end of every day, we need to get our pointer and point up our work, especially the brickwork. And also, as we may not plaster the inside of this building, I also want to point up the joints in the inside of these blocks. Simplest tool to use in the world. Just run it along our joints like so. Okay, good morning. We're back at it again today. You'll see here I've now attached the 4 lugs to my bricky, so when I'll set it on the wall, it'll set on nicely. We won't have to be concentrating and keeping it pressed to one side. I'll now build up another 3 courses of bricks and a line of blocks, and then we'll need to put in our insulation. So I'll talk to you in a sec. Right, so to put in our insulation, just very simply, keep the lip up, put it down into the cavity and slot it into the plastic holders on the wall ties. Just want to press him well down into it. Okay, that's pretty good. I don't think a full sheet is going to fit here. No, we need to cut that. So just mark it. Cut it about here. Okay. That should do it. And off the far side. Okay. Simple as that. Slot it in again. Down into our ties. You see the nice tight joint I've got here. Okay. Also keep it tied up against our cavity closer here. Okay. Slot them into position. So again, we're now putting in our wall ties to both secure this one and the next sheet, the next course of insulation that will be going above it. Set him in place. I'm using a full one here again because I have a half one there and we're splitting our joints every second course. Okay. We're locking it in here now with the block again, as you can see. Do the same here, every second course of the blocks. Okay. And again, you know the drill at this stage, level all corners, okay? That's pretty level. Leveling him both ways. And that's perfect. Okay. We're now up 4 courses of blocks or 12 courses of bricks, so it's time to put in our second leaf of insulation, right? Now what's important about the insulation, 2 points, the same as with blockwork, brickwork, we got to cross our joints, okay? So I'll start off here with a half sheet I'd left over from the last day. And the second important point about putting in the insulation is to ensure there is no concrete on the previous layer of insulation, because we want it to set down into the grooves nice and snugly, okay? So that's, just knock off any little bit of dust that's on there. That's nice and clean. So we can just set it into place. Tim, say hello to the camera.
Hello.
This here, guys, Tim Cahill, old timer from Kerry. He's giving me a hand today, mixing up the mortar. He'll cut some bricks and blocks, stuff like that. It's always useful to have a second hand when you're doing a job like this, because even for just laying on materials, it just makes the progress so much faster. Okay. I'm now up to the height where we need to put in our window sills, so I'm just going to put on each corner brick first. Here. Level them up again. Put them out slightly, that's it. Check them here. It's good. The first thing to putting in a windowsill is to lay on the DPC. Now the DPC I have here is 375 millimeters wide. That's what's required for windowsills. Just measure him now. 55, 56, roughly 250, perfect. That's right in the middle, okay? We have plenty DPC at either side to come up around it, so that's perfect. Comes in here at the back. Now, our DPC, we leave it flush here with the edge of the brick. Now, how do we know how far in or out to put the windowsill? We get our brick, we set it up like this, okay? So it's running the line of our wall up along. And what we're looking for here is this ledge needs to be back 12 millimeters from the edge of this brick, okay? We just lift him back there. Lip is 12 millimeters behind our brick. So our 2 window sills are in place. We'll now pull our string line. We need to put on this brick freehand. So just get some mortar like this. Fold him up, place it on like so, okay? Press him down into it. Bring him down to our line. Okay, which is just about here. That's exactly it. And you see here, we just need small little pieces of bricks. So the gap here is 40 millimeters with a 10 mil joint at each side. That means I just need a 20 millimeter piece of brick. And it's the very same here. So we've these cut. We just need to, I can point up one side of this certainly with the Bricky. And just set him on there. Get the mortar into it, take off the excess. We'll just pack this in now with mortar. And the same at this side. Give them a good packing. Just repeat this process now for the window sills on the side wall. Now, yesterday we put in our sills. So today I want to put in my insulation up to the bottom of the sill, as otherwise it's a bit tricky trying to put it in after because the sill comes right into the cavity. So we'll put in our insulation first of all. Okay, there we go. So that should set in here nicely. Okay. So to lay on the line of blocks, we'll just first set up our string line. We'll just double check that with our level. And that's spot on. There we go. So here now on the inside, to build up our window opes, again we'll be using cavity closers. That's like the L-shaped block, which will bring up on the reveals of the windows at each side, the width between being the width of our window. That brings us 50 mil into the cavity, and we have a 50 mil gap, which afterwards we'll pack with insulation, and our window then will come in here. But here in the front, where the window is small and we're not actually coming around the corner, we just need to leave this extending that 50 mil into the cavity, okay? So I've cut a wee piece for this. That'll just bring us in our 50 mil here. Okay, that's pretty good. Now here at this side, again, I've used my L, but because, you know, it's a very narrow wall, I've halved the L and I've cut a block 150 millimeters wide. So again, that's coming the 50 mil into the cavity. Now on every second block as I progress up along, I'll be leaving the L run in here and cutting the 150 mil piece to run in here. So again, we'll be crossing the joints on every single course as we go up. The next thing we want to do here is to lift this wall up to the same level as the top of our sill here. That'll be the height of our window board. So to do that, I need a soap bar or a 100 millimeter block that I'll set in there. We set him in here. He fits in nicely. For the final detail now on our window sills, we just want to cut off this excess DPC, okay? So again, our bread knife, and just cut him flush to the wall and along the, okay, and down here. That's the finest. Yesterday we built up to the window heads, so today we'll be putting on the lintel. Now you can see the detail here. We've closed in here on both sides, the insulation's in place, the wall ties are all the way up. So just before we put on the head, we want to put our DPC in place, okay? Very straightforward. The DPC here, it runs down this face from the top right down to the bottom. After that then, this gets packed with insulation, and that's the detail there. So this is cut to length to run right down to the bottom. So we just slip it in here. We'll just set it up like so. Just leave it running and leave it flush here with the edge, okay? A wee dab of mortar, set it on top of it just to hold it in place, okay? The window one's cut here as well. Very same thing. Just runs in down along the window to the bottom. Leave it flush. that mortar to hold it in place. Now notice here as well, we've built up to the top of the window and the top of our block hasn't corresponded. This is very common. You can actually buy blocks that are the same thickness as a brick, which we've used here just to get it to the same height. We won't require it here at the sides as the windows at the sides are one brick lower. Okay, now that's all our DPC in place. Just before I lift on the head, we'll just need to put a wee bit of mortar on these to help bond things together. A bit like before when we were putting on our DPC on the ground, we just really want to damp a very light skim of mortar. Just put it on freehand with the trowel. Just do the same here with the blocks. So now we're ready to put on the head. For the front of the building here, we're using a long head that covers the two windows and the door. It'll help tie the whole building together. So we just slide it up and we lift it into place. Okay, so flush it up, check her for level temp. We just check to see how we're looking level wise. Absolutely spot on, yeah. Okay, we just keep it back here about 10 millimeters from the face of the brick, and that's in about 10 millimeters as well from the block. Right, so we've now built up the corner at each side. We've pulled our string line both on top, and I've also pulled one at the bottom as we're putting in a soldier course right across. Soldier course being the brick like this. It'll keep our bricks plumb both in the top and in the bottom. So just to put them on, very simple. We lay on a bit of mortar freehand on the lintel here to spread it out, and simply then again we'll use this guy to butter up the face of our bricks. Just set them onto it, place the mortar into it, take off the excess. There you are, nice even joint. Just set them into place. Now as I'm coming along here, there's a couple things I should check every 4 or 5 bricks. First one being that my brick is reasonably upright. So a small level like this is absolutely ideal. Now I can see there that just needs a slight tap back here in the middle. It's just sloping ever so slightly. That should do it really. Yeah, that's perfect at that. And the other thing to check is that our joints are going to run in correctly at the middle. We're not going to need to cut a brick, and we're not going to have a very large unsightly joint. The building has been spaced for everything to fit in right. So, but we just want to check it again every 4 or 5 bricks, as I say. Now a brick on edge like this should be 75 millimeters. Now what I've got here is 1,000, and I'm looking at 1,060, which is good. I know 900 certainly is 12 bricks. 975 will be 13. 1,050 is 14 bricks, and the 1,060 then, which is perfect because that 10 mil just gives me room for the extra joint. So we're running spot on there. Right, so we're at the last brick, and it looks like it's going to set in nicely. Yeah, that looks absolutely perfect. There I go. And I just pack this joint now from the top. Okay, right down. That's it. And just to get right into that joint, I'll just get a smidgen of mortar on the edge of the trowel like so, and just flick it into it like that. And that's our soldier course in. Make sure you're leaving at least 150 millimeters overhanging each side of the opening, okay? So that it's well supported, it's not going anywhere, okay? And we'll put in the lintel here as well at this side. So the very same thing. sloping side facing forward. Set them into it. So I'll put a soldier course right over each window here, and I'll build in my bricks here. So what I'll do, I'll build up each corner again, 3 bricks high, pull our string line, the same as the last time. At each opening, it's important to pierce a hole just through the centre of the opening. Now the purpose of this is, okay, there it is. Should any water come in behind the head here and get trapped, it'll be able to flow out here at the front. Okay. Right, so that's the wall insulated. We're up to our height here. The only thing left here now on this wall is to put in the cavity closer. Do the same here. Okay. Can use the bricky as well for this. Now, pop them in place. Now I line the inside of them up flush with the inner leaf. Bring them up flush here. Okay, and level them up. As you can see there at the far end, Tim has set on the cavity closer. He's setting up the laser level, and we're gonna see if we have the same height at this point, because we want to check our level again all around the building. So if our height is correct, the beam is going to hit the stick here again at this point, okay? Would you look at that? Right on the nose. So that's good. We just now need to join up the cavity closer here. Just pack them down. So there you are. That's our first complete wall built. Now, in preparation for our roof and our wall plate, our wall plate is what carried the rafters and the joists of the roof. So the rafters, we'll be using about a 30-degree pitch here on the roof. So the rafters are going to be coming down like this. Now, it's no problem. We can chip a piece out of these blocks to accommodate the rafters, but we don't want to be going down too much. Our wall plate will be in here, so we want to lift this side of the wall up a further 4 inches, then put the wall plate in that, and the rafter will come out then, and we'll be only chipping out 1 inch or 2 from the corner of this block. So I'll put on this block here. Now I've cut this one, so again it's going to split our joint here, right? Just line it up there. Now we've a liner of 100mm blocks on to take the wall plate, but I'm going to put a good thick bed of mortar out here, slope it back like so. Now the reason I'll do this is because the wall plate's going on this, we want this to be as firm as possible. So a good thick bed of mortar here to give this a lot of strength. So we've had the timber delivered for the roof, so we can begin putting the roof on today. Now the first thing, obviously, we need to put on our wall plates. The wall plates are like foundations for a roof, the same as we have a foundation for our building, okay? We'll be putting them on here. There's a couple of things we'll need to check, just that the dimensions are parallel and that they're level, but we've kind of checked it with the block anyway, so we should be pretty close. Again, it's quite straightforward. I've got my wall plate here. It's just 100mm by 50mm length of timber. So I'll set it up here, mark it and cut it. Right. $25mm back. That's spot on there, and I'll mark the other side and cut it. Do the same here, about 25mm back. And we'll cut that off. Beautiful. Okay, so that's our second wall plate cut. Now we just want to check that they're parallel before we fix them. That means we want to check that the distance here is the same as the distance at the far end. Okay, so we have a 3mm difference, which is next to nothing. So they're fine, we can go ahead and fix them. Right, now to fix the wall plate, we'll be using these what are called split nails. They have a taper here at the end. We'll be drilling, I have an 8mm masonry bit and drill. We'll be drilling right through. We'll be banging these in them with the hammer and they wedge into place, securing this tightly to the block work, okay? So we'll drill 4 or 5 of these right along the wall plate. Pick out the center of a block. Don't go into the joint because you'll get a much stronger fixing here. And drill right into the middle of the wall plate. Just like that. Okay, so now our wall plates are in place. We now need to mark our rafters. Now the beauty about the rafters is they're all the exact same, okay? So we need to get one right. There's 2 things we need to know. We need to know the distance between our wall plates and we need to decide what pitch we're going to put on the roof. I'm thinking we'll put about a 37.5 degree pitch. So the other thing I need to know is the distance between the 2 plates. So I'll just mark that now. We'll go down then and we'll mark this out on the board, okay? I have 2 meters, 728 millimeters. 2 meters, 728, okay? So here we're going to work out our rafter. Now, 2,728, that's the distance from my wall plates, okay? My rafters are going to be coming up like so, okay? These are my wall plates. Therefore, my ridge board is going to be up here. So the first thing I need to do is get the midway point here, okay? So half of 2,728 is 1, 3, carry 1 is 6, 2 into 8 is 4. 1,364 is the midway point. Right, now what I've got here is, that represents my wall plate. I've just cut a bit off the end. That's the ridge board. That'll be set, that piece up here where the 2 rafters come together. Okay? So, I'll just pretend this is my wall plate here, right in the corner. So I'll actually leave it there. I'll just draw right around it. Okay? Now remember, the distance between our 2 wall plates is 2,728. We want to get the halfway point, which is here. 1,364. Now there's one thing, alright, we'll need to cater for. The midway point here is the midway point in our ridge board. So we'll set our ridge board down here, right on that mark, okay? And I'll mark the 2 points at which the ridge board will be coming up. I'll just mark that here as well on top. Okay, 1,364, that's it there. Now, I'll just join up them 2 spots in the square here. It should be long enough. Again, catering for the ridge board. So the next thing I want to do at this point is take the angle of my rafter up to meet this line, okay? So we're going to using 37.5 degrees. So I'm taking the point up from the bottom corner of the wall plate. So I'll just get the pivot point in this, which is here. I'm coming up here 37.5 degrees. So here I have 30, 35, 37.5. That's my angle right there, okay? So I want to extend that line right up to the center line, okay? So I'll just use my straight edge here. Take this right up. This is the bottom of our rafter. This is the point it intersects our ridge board. So I'll now offer up the rafter mark this point and mark the bird's mouth. It's very simple. Okay, so this is the timber we'll be using as our rafter. I'll just bring that up there, I think. Okay, line it up to the bottom, to the line. There and there. Okay, so I mark it here at this point where it hits the ridge board. Square that up as well. Okay, join these points together, and that's the angle of the top of our rafter. It should be 37.5 degrees, which it has to be. Now just to visualize that better, that's where our wall plate sits in. Now we'll be cutting what they call a bird's mouth out of the rafter to set into the wall plate, okay? So to mark that, I'll just square up these 2 points again. Just like so. And this one. Okay. Now, this angle again is 37.5 degrees. So I'll just get that. 37.5. Okay. This point comes along to intersect it at 90 degrees. On the point, bring it across. Boom. Okay, so that's our bird's mouth and our ridge cut marked. Now I'm not going to mark the ends yet, as we're going to put up the rafters and we can cut them off after quite easily. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go down, cut 2 rafters, we're going to offer them up, just see to double check that everything is right. Assuming they are, we'll go ahead then, cut all our rafters, they'll all be the very same, and fix our roof together. Okay, so let's go and cut this. So we're now going to check if our rafters are marked and cut properly. To do so, we need to put on the ridge board as well. So just to represent the ridge board, we're going to put this piece, we're going to tack it onto the end of one of these rafters here again, okay? And then offer it up, see how we're looking. Just tack it in like so, it'll be coming off again in a sec. Okay? So Tim is going to hold that one up. I'll pop this one in. You can see here as well, the bird's mouth is setting perfectly on the wall plate. Right, so let's go and cut the rest of our rafters. They're all the exact same as this. We'll use one as our template. We'll use the same one as our template the whole time. To work out exactly how many rafters we need, okay? We'll be starting off here, there'll be one in the cavity. Now we want to put one here pretty tight to the wall, not right tight to the wall. We want to leave about 20 millimeters where I have it marked here. We'll be putting a rafter here. So that's 1, 2, and after that we'll be going 400 millimeters apart to them, okay? So that's every 400. 11 rafters, and obviously 11 at the other side, so we need 22 rafters, okay? Now you note here as well, we've chipped a piece off the block to allow the rafter run down beyond the block here. So we just cut in here with the angle grinder, chip it out, and the rafter will run out. It's better than cutting a chip out of the rafter, because we don't want to weaken the rafter at this point. So we'll need to do that right across here once we mark down our rafter. But we'll go and cut our rafters anyway first, one job at a time. Isn't that right? Okay. Now to suspend the ridge up into the air, we're going to set up a simple jig. I've got 2 rafters here, okay? Now this again representing our ridge. I just want to drop it down exactly where I need it to go. Just about 10 millimeters up above the rafter. I'll offer my 2 rafters into it, and I'm just going to tack that piece in there. We can set these then up on our wall plates and drop the ridge board down into it, and it'll suspend it into the air for us, and we can start tacking it together, okay? So I'll also put this piece on it, come the correct distance apart, which is 2,728. We'll be putting 2 100 millimeter nails, one in from each side, okay? Just make sure our bird's mouth is setting nice and tight, which it is here. Okay, we're on our line. Just angle it down into it. There we go. Right. We'll now put the 2 rafters in at the far end, and we can then drop our ridge board in place. Now to fix the rafters in the bottom to the wall plate, we're using 100mm nails, 1 at each side. Fixing the rafter on top to the ridge board, 75mm are fine. Again, 1 at each side is the recommended way in doing it. There you go, Tim. It's as easy to offer it up, right? Okay, so just leave a run out beyond the rafter and mark the angle here off the rafter, okay? And just cut it slightly shy of this then after, so that it's not going to be extending out beyond the rafter. Right, okay, so that's fine. Now to fix our ceiling joist, I'll use 1 100mm nail down into the wall plate. Okay, just like so, and 1 75mm then into the rafter, just like so, okay? Ties the whole thing together. There we go, job done. Notice here we fitted braces diagonally across the underneath of the rafters to strengthen our roof. So in order to crack on with felting and slating the roof, we just want to fill out our gable ends here first. So because we want the slate to come out and set nicely on the brick, we've pulled the string line by putting a stick here and a stick on top and just stringing the line from the bottom of the stick, which gives us our mark to cut each brick. In order to mark them, I'm using this piece of, it's actually a piece of insulation, but we've cut it 10mm wide to represent our joint. So when we set that on, just allow for our joint here as well, and mark the brick exactly where it needs to be cut. That's the piece that will be coming off, so Tim will cut that corner off for us. Right, Tim, slice them up. Inside and out. And I'll just use my bricky to point up the end of them. Set them on there. Okay. Just bring them to meet our line. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. Setting down nicely. Our joint seems spot on. Take away that excess. We'll now cut the ends off the rafters, right? So what we've done, we've come out 35mm from the wall. We've marked this, transfer this point right across the rafters by coming out 35mm at the far end, pulling the string line, and Tim has just marked each rafter. Now what I've done, get my sliding bevel, okay? I've drawn this line here vertically using the level. I'll now set the sliding bevel on that, which I've just done there, and I lock that in place, and I can transfer this vertical line now on each rafter, and we'll cut them off. So let's go and do that. So we're now ready to felt and slate the roof. You can probably see there that it's thicker than our standard batten. Now we use a thicker one at the end to create what we call a belt cast. That'll just kick our end slates out a little bit more when at the end of the roof here. Now the reason we do that is it helps secure the slates and prevent them from flapping in the wind rather. Okay, so the first thing, secure this end batten. So I'll just line it up here with the end of our wall. And I'll fix that with a 75mm nail that we'll use to secure all our battens. And I just need to check before I fix that it's going to be in line with the end of the rafter here. So I'll just get my nail in our batten first. Okay, check that it's in line. That's it. The corner here is in line with the end of the rafter, so I can fix that here. And I'll now fix this batten right along the rafters. I've done the same along here, lined it up with the end. So we're now putting on our next layer of felt. It was very straightforward. The only important detail here really is that we leave an overlap of about 150mm, obviously on top of the felt underneath. So if any rainwater gets under our slates, it'll hit this and just shoot down off our roof, okay? Now to fit our first 50 by 25mm batten, what we want to do is come back 225mm from this point here, which will be our fascia, okay? So I'll just take my tape here. I'll measure up 225mm, which is here. Okay, right there. Oh, I'll pop a nail in here at either side. Now this batten is absolutely critical because we'll be marking the rest of our roof off this batten. So it's critical we'll get this right. We'll mark up 225 at this end. We'll do the same at the other end. We've it already done. We're going to pull our string line between them. Okay, so let's knock him in. Ensuring we get it into the rafters, of course. Now the nails we're using to fit these 50 by 25mm battens are 60mm nails. Okay, now as we come along, we want to ensure that the end of the batten is up to the string line, and I think we've got it there. It's right in line with the line. So we can knock this in right the way across. Once we've the first two battens at the bottom put on, they'll be quite close. After that, we'll be putting our battens at 250mm centres. So in order to mark them out quickly, I'm just constructing two simple T-pieces. From this point here to this point here is 250mm. So myself and Tim, we'll have one at each end and we'll be able to knock our battens on quickly. So from this point to this point here is 250mm. So I'll be just screwing that in there like so. There we go. Okay. Let's check they're both the same. They're both spot on. Okay. Let's get battening. Now we can see the purpose of our cross pieces here. We're looking to center our battens now 250mm apart. So you'll remember from here to here is 250mm. So we just rest this here and we check that the end of our stick here is flush with our batten and we just nail it into place. Okay. Right, so for our final bit of 50 by 25 or 2 by 1, just throw it out there to me a sec. Yeah. All we're doing with this is we're quite simply, it doesn't matter what distance it is here now, it's essential that there's one put right up against the ridge board because that'll be our final fixing on the slate. So as close as we can and we fix her in at that. Find our rafter. Okay, so our roof is now felted and battened, so we need to put on the slates. Now we've just had delivered Tegral True Stone Plus slate. These slates come with a 20-year guarantee, so we can be assured they're not going to fade in terms of colour and they're not going to break, etc. Now of course to start the roof, the first slate we need 250mm long, the next one 350mm. Our slate is 600, so when we cut these properly, we get the 2 pieces out of the 1 slate. So what we've done here, we've set up a simple jig, just straight edge, stick up here, 2 bits of slate so we can slide the slate in under it. And with our slate knife, run it along it like so, describe our line. That should do it. Give it a nice cut. Now to snap it off, place the cut line right on the edge and just gently snap it off, just like so. There's our 250, there's our 350. Like brickwork, we also want to cross our slates, so every second time we're splitting the joint. So again, just next to this, very simply here, same thing, we set up a simple jig to slit our slates straight down the middle. Now these here are the 350mm slates, so in order to fix them, we need to drill 2 holes so that we can secure them into our first batten. Okay, so I'm just using this one here. They'll all be the very same again. So we're ready to begin slating. Now what we've done here, we've pulled the string line here 50mm back from the fascia. We've measured it 50mm here at this end, the same at the other end. So we can mark up our first tile to that string line. So we're going to start off exactly right. And here on the barge, we fitted an edging. Now this serves 2 purposes. Aesthetically, it'll give us a very good finish. And secondly, it also helps to secure the ends of the tiles, where we'll also have half tiles, as you'll see, just like this one here. It'll be coming on next, and it gives us a good finish, and it'll help bind everything together here as well at the edge. So we can begin slating. Now the first thing we'll do is our 250mm slates. We'll put a line of these across, okay? So we'll be nailing these here in our first batten. Now, I'll just need to drill a hole here. You'll need a battery drill when you're doing this because there is a bit of drilling involved. Okay. Now fixing the slates. The first slates need to be fixed with short cramp pins or short tacks. It's important we don't pierce the felt, okay? You just pop him in there, line him up with our string line, pop him in, okay? Now also, we can bring along our next line on top of this as well, right? So, now, like bricks, slates, we cross our joints on every single line, okay? So we kick off here with a half slate. Again, we set him in here, line him up here at the end, and that's where he goes here. So we'll just fix him there. We just pop him in there and check him again. There we are. Fix him. What's important here is we allow for our cramp pins. Our cramp pins, they go in here about 25mm from the bottom of each slate, right? That one will go in there. Now the next slate to go on top of them will be a full slate. So at the beginning here, we need to slide them in under the edging, just like so. Bring them down. Find their cramp pin. There it is. Just need to bring it down. So the whole lot is flush here at the bottom. Okay, we're looking good. And we just fold him over like so, and that's what we're looking to do throughout this roof.
Put on them line away now.
What we've done here now is simply snap the chalk line along a third of the way up our battens, so we know exactly now where the top of our slate needs to lie. Of course, that's why we just leave the slate come up a third of the way on the batten, because if it comes up too far, then it blocks the nail from going down through our holes here into the batten. So that's what we're looking for all the time. The top of our slate to come 1/3 of the ways up in the batten, and our fixing then for the next slate on top of that is midway in the batten. So the top of the slate never catches our fixing. To finish the top of our roof, we've one more line of slates. They're cut, again 250 above the bottom of this tile here. Get him in there, just a tiny bit, and that's him. We've measured here on the top to finish flush. So that's where they'll go. Now, just turn him down and hold him. Now to fix these, we need our drill, and we'll be drilling them into the batten, like so. There we go. We'll be putting 2 nails on each tile, and do the same with this piece. Okay, this one will go right through the steel. Okay, we'll nail them down, and we'll just continue this detail then right across the top, and the final process then is just to put on the ridge piece, and that'll be our roof slated. Okay, so we're now fitting the fascia board at the eaves. Pretty straightforward again. We've marked it the correct length. I'm using a chop saw here to get our 45-degree angle, because we'll be running a small piece back around the corner as well. In order to fix this piece, we're just going to put a little bit of timber. We're going to fix it to the wall here, and I'll mark it here. We'll cut that here, and we'll be able, when we've that fixed, we'll be able to nail this piece then into our piece of timber here. Okay, that's good and tight. We now know this is the right length, so we can fix this. Now Tim, he's marked where all our rafters are coming out, so we know exactly where we need to put our nails. We'll put 2 nails into each rafter, one on the bottom, one on the top. Okay, now I've got a bucket of black mortar here, or it's normal mortar. We put in a cement dye to colour it black. The reason we need this, we want to just put a lip here to seal our roof right down along here and close in the joints. So we've just fixed a piece of timber here, a piece of timber here. It's 150 mil by 25, and we'll now just plaster this in with cement, so we close this joint, and it'll be a nice, neat finish. Okay, now we fixed the board here with a few steel nails, but just to prevent any mortar running down inside the board and going down and staining our brick, I just want to seal the gap here with a bit of silicone. So I'm just running this down along like so. Okay, so we've that now sealed. We'll now pack it up with our mortar. Now notice here as well, we've tapped some nails into the battens. This is going to help the mortar to hang in there. So we're now about to fit the doors. Very simply, just leave our DPC run down on the the inside of the outside wall, as you see here, and just squashing our gap then with insulation, so we have a good sealed, joint. Right, so we'll be fitting the windows and doors. So I'll just talk you through fitting the first window. Very simple process. These come with the window. They're for fixing it in place. Quite simply, we just put a small window like this, we'll only need two. We put one pretty near the top and one pretty close to the bottom. Just about there is fine. Doesn't really matter. Come up roughly about 150 mil that way. Okay, two at each side. Just before I pop it in, we just want to run a line of silicone along our windowsill so we get a seal joint here at the bottom. Okay, and quite simply now, just lift it into place and it should fit. Okay, how we looking, sir? How we looking? That seems a nice tight fit. Just a steel nail. Always hold it with pliers or vice grips because they tend to slip and you want to hang on to your fingers. Okay, there we go. That does it. Okay, excellent. For fitting the door, we'll put 4 fixtures on each side. Okay, very same process as the window. We'll seal up the bottom here now as well with silicone and we'll lift them into place then. You put a good lash of silicone on this. Straight up in the brick, is it? Okay, so there's our windows and doors fitted. Job well done. Okay, now just to seal up the outside of the windows, we just first of all need to trim back any bit of DPC that's coming out too much, like here. Just use our marking knife to do that. Just run it down along the edge like so. There we go. Right off. Cutting the bloody inside of the window, but that's alright. Here at the top. Right. And all we do, get our silicone, obviously brown silicone as our windows are brown. And we'll, the bottom is sealed, we just need to seal the 2 sides and the top. Quite simply just run it down along it, just like so. Give it plenty of it, we don't want any water going in there. Okay. Right, I'll go all around it and we'll just seal it up then with our finger. With soapy water after. So that's our silicone on. Now there's a magic little tool just for putting a nice finish on this. It's called our finger, okay? Just dip it in the water. A bit of soapy, bit of washing up liquid in that water. Soapy water is what they recommend. And just run it down along our silicone. Right. We'll just do the same with the rest of the windows and we'll also seal up the door. Okay? Very same thing. Before we start slabbing, I just want to put in a trapdoor here because we have a nice bit of room in the roof, so it would be a shame to leave that go to waste. So fitting a trapdoor is very simple. I just marked my 2 rafters here, squared it back to these 2, cut 2 noggins to fit into it. Okay, find our mark. Now you notice here I've just nailed this 2x1 to suspend this into the air while we fix this. Very simple procedure. I'll use 75mm nails, 2 nails in each fixing. I can now take off this 50x25. Serve this purpose. Mick, my mate here, has come over from England. Now he's invented a fantastic little gadget for putting up plasterboard. It's called the board mate. My little boy's been checking out the standard of work. So here we are. I've cleaned up the site. You can see the nice tidy effect we've at the roof. Now this is going to be my home office, but of course it's built to the same standard as our homes. So the building is multifunctional. It can be your playroom for the kids, guys like him, your studio, workshop, a games room for snooker or table tennis, just a beautiful brick garden shed. You could live in it, just plumb it up. So I hope the information on this production has been of use to you and you go on and build something beautiful. My name's Noel Marshall. I'm back here in my home county of Cork, that's in Southern Ireland, and today we're going to build a beautiful brick barbecue. What you've got here is your standard barbecue grill and grate. Now we're going to build two side by side because it can be a little bit small if you're feeding a lot of people. Therefore, if you're throwing a big party, fire them both up. Small group, just fire up the one. You'll have the option. It's going to be 11 courses of bricks high. It's 7.5 bricks here at the back, coming out 2 bricks at each side, a brick and a half here in the middle. So we'll start by laying on the back wall. To lay on our first course, we'll lay on the 2 corners, roughly where they're going to be. Of course, the first bed of mortar goes on freehand, so we'll do that. I'm using this stick here to give me a line, so I know exactly where everything is going. Of course, I'll use the bricky here to butter up the end of each brick, just like so. And we'll pop him on. That's our first corner in place. I'll now lay out the second corner here, and we'll check them for level. We'll pull our string line, and we'll lay on the bricks then in between. So to check that our corners are level, there's a couple of ways we could do this. Of course, we could use our laser level. Probably the easiest way again, I'll just get my stick here, which is a straight edge. We'll place this on top. And we'll place our level on this. And lo and behold, that's actually quite level. So I've put a good thick bed of mortar underneath each corner that if one needed to be tapped down, we'd be able to tap it down. So I'll just give them both a tap down, just like so, so they're good and solid. And there it is, that's still level. I'll now pull my string line, of course using our mason's mate. And we'll pop on the bricks then in between. Quite simply, we'll set him here at the corner. We'll lock the line in here first. Get it, pull the line through. We lock it on here at this end. There we are, that'll hold it. Set it on there. Okay, so that's my line stretched. We can now lay on the bricks in between. Of course, using the vertical guide to apply the vertical joints. Now each grate takes 3 bricks in length, so this will be our dividing section here. So this brick will be coming in like this. Just to cater for that, just pop in our mortar there and we'll pop him in. Again, this edge now, we're looking to touch the string line. We'll just pop the level on him as well actually, just to make sure he's not too far away. That's very good. Okay, and just these two now to pop in. And that'll be our back wall in place, or at least the first course of it. As you see, I'm coming to the joining here. Now this isn't fitting in perfect. This corner needs to move back about an inch or 25 millimeters, so it's going to set in right, but that's fine. I'll just need to loosen my string line, move these back ever so slightly, just like so. Just back another tiny bit so we'll have even joints all the way. That's spot on now with that. We'll just loosen our string line and reapply the mason's mate. That's all good. We only need to do this in the first course because once you map out the first course, everything comes straight up vertically from that. Okay, we'll now lay out our side walls in the bit here in the centre. But these are so short, we're not going to use the mason's mate in the line here. It'll be a case of just using our level to bring it out level. And I lay on the grate here again, of course, to check that it comes out square also. We want to make sure our grilling grate fits in after. Okay, so again, I'll just lay on the bed of mortar here freehand. Okay, there it is. So there's 2 things I want to check for. That it's level, of course. Let's use my hammer to tap this, save my hand. And as you can see here, it's a little bit off level. So that's what you always do. Put a good thick bed of mortar on so you can tap it down then till it's level. You don't want to be going in after trying to lift it up. So it's, and that's level. Okay, so that's this wall level. It's reasonably straight. We'll just use the level here on this. It's so short, we wouldn't use the string line. So just one other thing we want to check is that we have a right angle here and that the grate and grill is going to fit in perfectly after. So you just want to make sure you have a reasonable right angle so that it fits in nicely after. We have about an inch or 25 millimeter slack here movement in it anyway, so that will be fine. I'll now lay on this brick. Now this brick here, this wall here in the centre is only coming out 1.5 bricks from this point, so we already have half a brick, so it's just a full brick coming out here. And, okay, we'll lay on this one, we'll check it in with our grate to see that it's that everything is square. Okay. Okay, so that's our first course level all round. We now just want to check that everything is at right angles and square. We know this angle here is square. This one is just, that's it. Let's check it again at this side. That's perfect. And this wall just needs a slight tap out, which you can do with the grate, just like that.
Perfect.
So right, we now have our first course laid out. It's level, it's square. It's very simple now. All we got to do is bring the next 10 courses straight up in vertical alignment. Now I'll show you all the points we'll need to check, but we'll lay on a bit of mortar here first. Now the beauty is we can now use the bricky. This will ensure joints are kept uniform and clean. So now I use the same sequence on every single course for building a barbecue. It's actually a little bit tricky with the smaller walls, but if you follow this sequence you won't have a problem. We lay on this bit here first, just like so, and we'll fill that up with more. Now putting on this piece, again, we've only the lug here at one side, so we need to keep it pressed against this wall, and I'll use my finger here just to ensure that that's in the correct position, and fill it up. So that should be good. Okay. Just this piece. Okay, so that's our mortar bed laid on all around. Now, as we're building up, all we got to do is check that we're coming straight up vertically. And there's 10 points on this barbecue that we need to check. It's quite a lot actually for such a small structure, but it's better to check them and ensure that it's all straight. I'll point the 10 of them out to you now as I put on the first brick. So this will be going on here, obviously. And we're using a full brick, so we cross our joint. Okay, press it down into so we get a tight, secure joint. Now we'll check it here, that is vertically level. Just needs a tap in. Back slightly. Once it's reasonable, we're not overly concerned. So we'll call this our first point, and our second point in here is just the other side of the brick here. So it's coming up vertically here as well. Okay, and that's level there. So that's level. Now our next 2 points will be here and here. Again at this end, we said that's 2 and 3. This is 4 and 5, both these edges. Same on this, here and here, and here and here. If we check them for vertical alignment every time, then we cannot go wrong. So let's pop on the rest of these. Now if you're finding that by the time you get around the corner here, that your mortar bed here is getting too dry, then it means that your bricks aren't moist enough. It often happens, especially in hot weather, where the sun will suck the moisture out of the bricks, and what happens then in turn, the bricks suck the moisture out of the cement, and it starts to go off too quickly, and you don't get a tight joint. It's actually very important that, especially in hot weather, as I say, that you dampen down your bricks, either by sprinkling them with the hose about every hour or so, or even dipping them in a bucket of water for a couple of minutes. But we're fine here. We've plenty of moisture here today, so we've no such problems, thankfully. Okay. That's also reasonably good, and we're coming up here. So So all our points now are vertically aligned. We just want to check that they're horizontally aligned. So again, the same thing. We'll pull the string line here. We'll use the small level here. There we go, that's not so bad. How are we looking here? That's fine. This one. Now to check that our back line is straight, we know both our corners are vertically level, so all we got to do is reapply our mason's mate with the line. It'll always stay in the same position. So set him on there, we'll set it on here, and we'll see how our bricks are. That's, there we are, our second course laid. The mortar mix I'm using here, it's 4 parts sand to 1 part cement. We've used a 25 kg, that'd be about a 55 pound, if you're an American, bag of cement, and 4 times that sand then. And now I've added a black dye as well. The purpose of that is it gives the bricks a much better appearance. Okay, so we've progressed up now to the 7th course, where we'll now need to cater for our grate. So in order to do that, we'll quite simply leave our bricks run in here to catch it. So what I've done here is cut a 3/4 length brick, which I'm going to lay on here like this. And I'm just leaving that run into the barbecue, so the grate then will set on top of that. It's as simple as that. And I'll do the same here at this side, another 3/4. And here then in the middle, what I'll do is we'll just use a full brick, leave it run across there, and that'll grab it here in the middle. And now you may notice that I put a pattern into it. So it's 2 courses of red, the corners coming up red and yellow in the middle. It's just the pattern I chose. You don't need to follow that. You can be as creative as you like. Right, so to continue on now, I'm going to need to take this lug off. So we'll have the 2 lugs off at one side of the tool, because they're just catching here a little bit on the bricks on these guys coming out. Okay, so that's reasonably level. That's actually quite good there as well. They don't need to be 100%. Once it's reasonably good, step away from it. You could spend all day getting it 100% perfect. Doesn't need it. Once it's reasonably good, move on. Okay, that's now my, I think 8th course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next course will be the same as the 7th one. To take the, I'll be doing the very same thing here. The bricks coming out. They take the grill. This takes the grate. They'll take the grill. We'll be capping it then with a nice capping of a half brick on edge, pointing it up, and that'll be it done. So we'll crack on and get that done. Okay. There we are, there are pieces to hold our grill. Now all we've got to do is put the, what I'm going to do is put a soldier course of half bricks all the way around it to give it a nice finish. What soldier course means, bricks facing up this way, so you don't have the holes facing up. I'll put a half one straight in like this on each edge. That'll go like that. And I'll just plaster a bit of mortar then up onto this, so there'll be no holes exposed, and we'll have a nice finish. Okay, so we'll, you can observe me doing that, and it's quite straightforward again. Okay. Now as you can see here, what I'm using to plaster these up is actually the piece for the block, because the brick piece is a little bit short. So, but this works fine. Take off the excess, there we are. We pop them on, just like so. Okay. As you can see, I have a very clever tool here for splitting bricks. It's like a guillotine. I have an edge here, an edge at the bottom. So normally you get a good clean cut with it, as opposed to the bolster where you're just hitting the brick at one edge. You get a lot more waste using the bolster. You still some cut to waste, as you see here with this, but your chances are much better and it's much quicker as well. If you don't have one, they're available on my website. It's a super tool. Just hold your brick and tap it down along the edge so you get a nice clean cut, just like that. Okay, so I've 9 bricks here now on soldier course. As you can see here, 3 on edge. It's the same length as 1 full brick, 3 bricks there. So there's 9 bricks there. I'll do the same now with this side, these 3 bricks, and run off that side then the same. Now the only thing, so my joints are going to finish even. I need to break the gap here the same as this, so I'll just run a brick in like this. Okay, just as I'm doing here. And I also need a bit of a 10mm gap on this. That should set on there now nicely. Okay. I'm just putting on a channel of mortar here across the centre, as you can see, because our bricks, they've got a hole here in the middle, so when the bricks come down, that'll ooze up in here to it, and it'll give it greater adhesion, making the whole structure stronger. Okay, so what I'm doing here now, the very same as the far side. We'll run six on edge, which will bring us out to here. We'll finish them with a half, plaster it up to it. Right, so there's me Barbie built. Now all we got to do is point it up and put in our grilling grate and we get cooking, okay? I know from experience there's quite a temptation to point your wall as you're coming up along, but it's very important not to do that, because when your mortar is wet, you tend to smudge it when you're trying to scrape it off. Leave it set like that, you see, like this here, and when you point it up then it'll just crisp off and you get a grand clean finish. Whereas if that was wet, you'd be only smudging the edge of the brick here and you get a dirty finish. That's the beauty about my Pro Pointer. No matter what thickness the joint, you'll always get one edge that'll get right into it and give it that perfect finish. Okay, all these. Let this coming out like that, just like that. Take off the excess before we point it. This slot in our grate, our charcoal will go on that, and this is where we'll put the steak. All right, I can't wait, but I gotta wait for about 3 days till the whole thing is fully set, then we'll be cooking. So I'll see you in a few days. Noel Marshall back here with you, this time in turbo mode as I build a flower bed stroke fish pond. It's a simple project but can be very beautiful when properly integrated into your garden or patio. Now don't necessarily follow the same shape and design as I'm building here. The thing you got to do is to build it to a suitable size and shape to match the area in which you're going to place it in your home. To help you do that, lay the first course of bricks out on the ground without using mortar. This then will help you to visualize and decide what shape and size best suits your area. After you're decided on a shape and size, the same principles as always apply. Lay the first course level and keep the corners vertically level as you build up. Again, apply the mason's mate to check for alignment. I'm laying block here at the back as these won't be seen after it's filled up. In fact, if you're building it against your house or any other concrete wall, you won't need a back wall. And the pro pointer to give us that perfect finish. Again, notice I'm using a black dye in the mortar as this gives that great finish. And I'm also using rustic bricks, which are in fact brand new, just manufactured to give that aged rustic look, which personally I really like. Here you see me putting in a solid plastic fish pond. These are got at all major garden centres. So we'll place a nice capping on it, we'll plant a few shrubs. Now again, it's to your own taste. I'm going to put in a few fish, and once it's kept clean, it's a beautiful feature that lasts a lifetime. So it's goodbye for now, but may I wish you the very best in all your constructive endeavours. I'll welcome any feedback, questions, and especially pictures of your completed projects. You'll get me via my website, bricky.com.